Hey, Shawn Clement here, Richmond Hill Golf Learning Center, on location at the Durham Golf Center near my house in Oshawa, Ontario. And I'm just out this evening. It's 10 after 7, the place closes at 8 o'clock. I'm enjoying a bucket of balls by myself. And none of my students are around. This is just me. Obviously, you guys are around now too, but we're just going to talk feel, okay? One of the things I was at a student of mine, we were having a session and we were working very hard during the session on trying to expand his swing. And I was trying to figure out what was it that was preventing him from expanding his golf swing. He'd been a student of mine for about a year and a half. Is a new golfer. He's only he was going to play his third round of golf or fourth round of golf coming up. And we had never, ever talked about keeping the head down, right? You'll never hear that from me, from Wisdom in Golf. We talk about keeping the head down. That's crazy nuts, okay? And, I said, at one point, we were looking at his forward knee was moving forward this way. And we were trying to work on the legs. We were trying to, get him to load up on the inside of the right leg and stay inside the left leg on the way through. And he just looked so discombobulated. And I said, "Are you trying to keep your head down?" He says, "Yeah, aren't you supposed to?" I nearly lost my mind, okay? So it's, again, with so many of my students, they assume that you should be keeping your head down. And this one is really important. That's the last thing, that's the worst tip ever known in golf. There's no worse tip than keep your head down. And for several massive reasons, okay? Number one, keeping my head down will never guarantee proper contact because, we talk about in the grass whip Shawn Clement video, your golf club is first and foremost a grass cutting tool. So here's ground. Here's grass growing out of the ground. Here's the ball sitting on top of the grass. Here's you looking at the ball. Well, guess what? You've got to come up to hit the ball, but you have to stay down to cut the grass. So if you look at early extension, Shawn Clement, this is a fantastic addendum to that because if you're trying to keep your head down, this is what's going to happen. So you're keeping your head down, you've got your head tucked in, you're trying to make a backswing. Can't go any further. So you say, well, there's no way I could whip the club from there, so I got to keep going. Whoa, look at this. So now, as the shoulder tries to continue, right, your rib cage is trying to move to get out of the way of the arms, and there goes your head getting dragged forward. Well, guess what has to support your head when your head gets dragged forward? Your left knee's got to jet out. Now, to prevent that from happening too much, the right leg's got to hyperextend. So there you go. You've got a completely discombobulated leg system, no support for your center of gravity, and now for the downswing, you're absolute toast. Okay? So when the downswing, you're trying to stay down, guess what's going to happen? The left leg loads up like a springboard. The calf is tight, the quads are tight, and now you've got to come up to hit the ball. So as you're coming up to hit the ball, whoop, you spring up like a springboard, and then whoa, you can't hit the ball anymore because your momentum's going this way, and you're trying to send them, you're trying to hit the ball this way. So please kindly stop trying to keep your head down. What you want is to bend forward from the hips so that the center of your circle, the sternal notch, can come down, and now the sole of your club can cut the grass. So I feel the sole of the club cutting the grass at ground level right now, and I can hear that little thump with the ground. So I bring that over. So now all I'm trying to do is feel my chest stay forward, and I just want to brush the grass, cut the grass, and off goes the golf ball. Beautiful little contact. Notice I got some nice grass clippings here on the face of the club. So bend forward, feel the grass underneath the sole of the club. My eyes are on the bottom of the club face. That's my blade. I can see that's in a perfect position to cut the dandelion stem. The golf ball is a dandelion, and you see an imaginary stem in your mind, and you're just going to allow momentum to cut the dandelion stem. So contact with the ball is as simple as that. So don't try to keep the head down. Keep your chest forward, keep the head in a nice comfortable position. Now what we want, we talked about the head and lag video, right? So head and lag. We want the head to be slightly turned so we can finish the backswing. So slightly turn the head, slightly tilt the head. Beautiful contact with the ground, with the sole of the club. It feels like a nice zippy cut through the dandelion stem, and it feels like I could do that all day. So if you keep the head down too long, injury is right around the corner, okay? So I'm trying to swing that way, my head staying down. My right shoulder drags my head down. If it doesn't drag my head down and I go hard, my rotator cuff is in danger. So I'm going to start ripping away at my right shoulder, and I'm going to start hitting myself. So we want, as we cut through the dandelion stem, notice how I'm allowing the sole of the club to cut through, and the momentum is pulling me up into a nice finish. So notice that in slow motion, the ball's already gone. Notice my head's still there. My shoulder's going to collect the head and bring the head up into my finish. So my finish position, notice how my head stacks up on top of my body. My rib cage and pelvis stack up on top of my left hip on top of my left knee, and my left knee on top of my left foot. Everything is stacked. Everything is balanced. So I'm going to let the weight of my arm club unit cut the dandelion stem toward that 125 marker, and let the momentum pull me up into a nice balanced finish where I could stay there all day. Nice, isn't it? So I'm not trying to keep my head down. I'm just allowing my body to glide around the head, and I'm allowing the head to come up into the finish so I don't injure myself, I don't jar any of my body parts. And the thing is, you try to keep the head down, at one point the body's going to self-preserve, and now you're trying to hit it hard, but you got to hold on. So you can't go all out. So if you wanted to give it a little bit more juice and feel a little bit more velocity in that dandelion stem cut, here we go. So when I'm cutting through something, ooh, that felt good. Staying in the air quite a bit. So when I'm cutting through something, the energy, the speed is going to be out here. If I had a machete, cut through that dandelion stem, you're going to hear the machete whistle out here. If I'm throwing a club to the target, well, the maximum speed of my swing is where the club is coming out of my hands. So I'm actually collecting the ball here, releasing the ball there. The sole of the club, when it cuts the dandelion stem, forces the ball to the club face. The club face collects the ball, compresses it, and then moves it to the target. So the process is, you feel the weight of your arm. You feel it tracking a nice swing around that sternal notch. We have a beautiful centered circle, and we allow that circle to cut the grass. And that's through this posture where the hips, you bend forward from the hips. So if you see lower body in the backswing video, the lower body in the backswing, Shawn Clement, you'll see how the lower body, the legs and the hips, carry the rib cage and the pelvis out of the way of the arm swing. So there's the motion that we have with the golf swing. So now if I take a little forward here, so same thing, I'm going to start at just a little left of the 125 and fade it back behind it. So I see the dandelion stem, I just have a wider blade underneath the sole of the club. So I gather that backswing nicely. And it feels like I can whip through that dandelion stem. Oh, that feels good. Right over that 125 marker. Let's try that again. That was fun. So the center of the club head is slightly forward of center. I'm hitting fade. My alignment just slightly left of that 125 marker. My takeaway feels like it's left of the 125 marker. Top of the backswing feels like I can whip the snot out of this club through that dandelion stem to the left of the 125 marker. And then I just go ahead and let it go. So I want to feel like I can do this all night long. So here we go. Gather, whip through, left to 125, back to 125. So now if we do a draw, so all we need to do is, it's all about the direction of the cut. So I will close the angle of my club face. I still see the dandelion stem, so I'm going to line up right on the 125. Center of the club is slightly back of center, but the ball position is still slightly forward of center. And now I'm going to have a nice zippy cut to the right edge of the 125. So in my mind, I see the right side of that sign. I feel the weight of my arm club unit. Gather it and let it release to the right of that 125 marker. So right now, it started on line, but it drew a little too much. So I'm just going to calm down, bring the club face a little less closed. Ball position's great. Gather it. Right of 125. Oh yeah. Again, super solid. The reason why it's so solid is because the sole of the club is cutting through that dandelion stem. So if the sole of the club cuts through the dandelion stem, ball hits the face of the club, leaps into the air. So if you look at, we talked about, and we'll talk about this in the future, is about how, you know, when the body moves, it moves up and down. We don't walk like this. You'll notice there's a nice ebb and flow to a walk. There's a nice up and down bob. So when I'm swinging back and through without stopping, and I'm allowing the arms to swing freely, there's a nice ebb and flow. See how my body comes up and down? So it rises up. So if I'm heaving an axe into the backswing or a battering ram, heave up, then gravity levitates everything up, then my body prepares to deliver through the cut. So as I'm swinging back and through, even with a forward, and this is the drill that we use with my student to get him freed up, and that's what made him realize when he started swinging back and through and cutting grass in both directions, we're cutting through the dandelion stems. Now I add a little bit too much of that effort through there, so let's try that again. And all of a sudden he could see that his head was going up and down, but that his contact was phenomenal. So, through, through. Oh yeah, through. So when it's through the cut, this is the fun part. Body gets ready to go through the cut. So when you hear the commentators on tour saying, look at how he's extending beautifully out of it into his finish, and sometimes you'll see them jump up. So when is the right time to extend? Rory's doing it really well right now, because you'll notice Rory's always swinging to a target. Talks about process and spot. He's got a spot when he putts, so he's putting out to something. He's swinging out to a target, and you'll see that in his head. You'll notice in the downswing his head does this, like Lorena Ochoa in the day when she was, before she retired at age 28. Took it back, and you'll notice at the top of the backswing she'd do this. That tells me, that gives me the body language that you're going that way. In the backswing, if you see something like this, that tells me that you're trying to go for the ball. So you start off behind the ball, but then you go, okay, it feels like I'm ready to go to the, I'm ready to swing, so I'm going to make sure I hit the ball. So that's the body language of somebody trying to hit a golf ball versus the body language of somebody swinging to a target. So we just get set up that way. So slight turn, slight tilt. Brace against the left side. Feels like I'm going that way. Feels like I'm going that way. Feels like I'm going that way. So now from there, still feels like I'm going that way. Still feels like I'm going that way. Still feels like I'm going that way. Just went that way. So the legs will know when to extend. We're gravity, absolute gravity geniuses. The legs know when to extend because my attention's on the 125. Let's go back to that little fade. I want to cut through the stem left of the 125. So my legs know exactly when to, still there, still through the stem. That's when it comes up. But if I'm trying to hit the ball, the extension's going to be in a different place. So, ball, ball. I'm trying to extend at the ball, so I'm going to extend my legs here so my arms can go after the ball. But if I want to go that way, I'm going to squat here, still down, then extend, and that's when the arms and the club get pulled away from me toward the target. So I hope you enjoyed that. This is me on the range, enjoying a nice little session. I'm glad you were with me. All right, Shawn Clement, Wisdom in Golf. Now you're in the know.